Despite its great potential, Nigeria faces several challenges in achieving shared prosperity and economic inclusion. Economic growth has been fragile and vulnerable, accomplished by increasing unemployment, poverty, and worsening living standards. In the view of these challenges, the focus of the 2023 edition of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group's Macroeconomic Outlook is with the theme Nigeria in Transition, Recipes for Shared Prosperity. The report proposes a framework for achieving a sustainable or a shared prosperity agenda for Nigerians by internalizing the unique features of the country. To help break down and make sense of the report, which has been launched earlier today, my guest is the man behind those figures. He's the chief economist and the director of research and development at the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. He's Dr. Olusegun Omishakin. Doc, it's really good to have you in the studio. Good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. Nice to have you too.
Yes, but we have a lot to talk about. Where do we start from? Let's start from understanding the issues. What is really on ground? What really are that big elephant in the cupboard? We are grappling with inflation. We are grappling with slow economic growth. We are grappling with unemployment. There's insecurity. Monetary and fiscal side, not in so much synergy. So which do we start from? In your thoughts, which is which? From you who understand all of this, the effects more than me.
Yeah, that's a very tough question.
Very tough.
I wish anyone could know where to start from. But the fact remains that we are living in a very challenging time, not only Nigeria, globally.
Yes, globally.
Yes, we have internal challenges that we could have just, taken care of. And due to maybe negligence or the fact that we don't bring up the appropriate policy or reforms. But that's not just the problem we are going through now. We are then having a compounded situation where the global situations are not really encouraging. So the world globally is expecting to have a global financial economic meltdown this year. And different countries are preparing for that. But again, if you look at the unique situation of Nigeria, you then say, apart from the fact that we are not growing well, apart from the fact that the growth is weak and it's not productive and it's exclusive, it's also the fact that poverty keeps increasing in an alarming rate. Income inequalities are there. And as I said, this is not just a matter of Nigeria, it's global. Recently, there was a report that was released, and the report also identifies the core challenges that we've been having with respect to development, which shows that given a pie, given a donut, if I may use that, you have almost 70% of the donut. You cut 70% off. You have 30%
left.
Yes. And you have 100 people in the room. So you give the 70% to 10 people. Then you give the 30% of the donut to the 90. So 10% wealthy people are controlling more than 70% of the prosperity of the income globally. The same situation applies almost everywhere, though with some varying degrees, but that is the case. So the question then is, how do we build a nation where first, everybody is included in the production process.
Yes.
But most importantly, everybody is also included in the sharing of that prosperity. And that is the core idea behind what the Nigerian Economic Summit Group launched today as a macroeconomic outlook, looking at what will happen in 2023 and so many other things. But the spirit behind the report is trying to reduce the gap between the haves and the have-not, and then reduce the gap of income inequalities and so many other poverty-related incidences that we have.
You touched on, of course, infrastructure and the social sector collapse.
Yes.
Let's stay with infrastructure, and that report is saying that Nigeria needs about $3 trillion the next 3 decades. That's about $100 billion every year to be able to achieve this.
Now, the report is not even recent.
So that means It's higher.
Yeah, people quote it, but it's been long.
That's
it's done by the
so
African
obviously it
Development
should
Bank.
be
It's been
higher.
long.
Just like our housing deficit figure.
Yes,
It keeps saying 20 million. I believe it should be about 40 million at the moment. But let's look at this. How do we achieve this? Aside public-private partnership.
Yeah, there is no way we can do. You have solved it. There's no way we can do that.
There's no way.
Yes, because even if you look at the global experience, show me a country or a nation that's attained that level of delivering strong infrastructural facilities, whether in terms of health, education, or physical ones, road, airports, and the rest, without the component, very significant one for that matter, of the private sector. And that's why some people will say, oh, government doesn't have business in business. Well, I understand what they mean, but government needs to show the way. Government needs to have a system that deliberately attracts or makes Nigeria attractive for such people to come in, both the domestic investors and international investors to come in and block that gap. It's very huge. It's not something that could be done suddenly, but at least let's see the path. Let's see how we grow. Remember, we have everything we want to do in the country is always burdened on the federal government budgets. And that's why you see the gap between our expected revenue and the expenditure, because government is like literally wanting to do everything. But if you had everything together, expected revenue, your debt, everything together, it's so small that it cannot answer a problem in the next 100 years. So, the private investment is more than needed, but unfortunately, even globally, that's not happening now. But at least we just need to have a clear path towards that.
We've been trying to rein in inflation with increasing rates. That's what the central bank has been doing for some months. And we expect a meeting sometime next week.
Yeah.
And many are thinking that they might still follow that route. But we are not seeing, well, they'll say December inflation, there was a little bit of reduction because many say that's not really significant. But what do you make of the kind of inflation that we are grappling with?
Yeah, so when you see the breakdown, the core inflation, the food inflation,
yes,
energy, if you really see the breakdown, it's easy for us to know whether any government intervention or policy reform will answer the problem of skyrocketing prices in Nigeria. Look at the process of food production, food distribution, transportation to the final demand consumer. It's that those ones are beyond the CBN policy. There's no rate there. If you like, reduce the rate or increase the rate rather to want to press down the price, but it won't work. We produce out of like 100, give an instance of yam or any other agri product for that matter, out of 100, before you push them from the farm down to the market side, you have lost more than 60%. Even in the market side, you don't sell them at once. You lost so many of them also to processing, preservation, even transportation. We're told today about the challenges. Some of these are people that carries maybe agri products and bread from the farm down to the market size. Many of them pay as much as 60 or 70 taxes in quotes in the process to local government, both state actors, non-state actors, before they come to the final point. So you expect the inflation, the price to rise. That is one. Look at energy prices situation. We don't even need to talk about that. So it's structural, it's fundamental. The problem is structural, and the CBN knows about that. Where the CBN will tell you where they are trying to look at the monetary part of it. But yes, but we don't expect to see any magnificent, any real change from what the CBN is doing when it comes to inflation in Nigeria. We still have a long way to go if we don't address those structural factors.
With all of the monies we have put into the anchor borrowers,
yes,
money we have put into the entertainment industry,
yes,
the National Theatre is being yes, rehabilitated, pharmaceutical sector, we're giving some fundings during COVID. We can go on and
Look
on.
At the forex challenges we're having. That in itself creates gives a kind of a significant part of the inflation.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
You can't, no, really.
But do you think a market-driven exchange can help us? I know if we stay on that exchange thing, we won't go today, but I'd like to ask you that question.
I think the question we need to ask is, first of all, why do we find ourselves Why do we find ourselves here? What are the challenges that people are clamoring for?
Okay, so the root cause of the issues, what you're talking about, we need to address the root cause.
Yes, we have the root cause.
Okay.
But we have some other causes that we don't, take care of well. If you have done those ones well, why the root cause cannot be done now is a long-term thing. We are not a productive country. So you can't just say suddenly, let's begin to export. No. But we need transparency. You see, if everybody wants to drink water and there is only one bottle in the house, if you are transparent, if your children, all of them know that is transparent, is going to do what is needed.
Share accordingly.
People will keep quiet, they will enjoy. But we don't have that now. So if you are close, you get at the official rate. If you are far, you get at the market.
And that will not
market.
That
Some people call it market. So that's the challenge. That's why you have so many tiers for the exports and investors. It's just such a messy situation.
And it's sad. And this really affects investors. If we go that route, that's another. Look at what is happening in the aviation space. Like the Emirates not coming to Nigeria again because they cannot repatriate their funds. How do you work in a country? And, it's scary. Let's talk about the fiscal and monetary side now. We've talked so much, and many of us talk so much about the monetary side because they seem to be the ones we hear more than even the fiscal side. Yes, the fiscal side is also active. But for example, the new Naira notes redesign, we saw what happened, and the minister was saying, I'm not aware, and at the end of the day, we're able to, the governor was able to deal with the president directly and all of that. But my question really would be, if we have a monetary and fiscal policy network or that synergize, work together, are on the same page, understand the same issues, would we do better than what we're doing now? Inclusive growth is what we intend to achieve.
Yes, you are very right. It may not necessarily, because again, it depends on what we call synergy, or what we call, the work together, as it were, because they have different roles actually.
Yes.
And but again, both authorities need to work in such a way that they understand that they are targeting the same goal. Simple.
That's it.
So you don't just do yours. For instance, in terms of the expansionary policy from the fiscal side, then the CBN is trying to curtail prices. So something is missing somewhere. But I think is a lot that even from the fiscal side, I understand the revenue challenge that we have. You can't, what you don't have, and so that also pushes us into borrowing, and then the interest rates, and then the cost of borrowing again would eventually negate whatever reform we're having from the monetary side in trying to regulate the rate. But it is what it is.
It is what it is, truly. Human capital and skills gap is something that's also been identified, that we have a lot, and this is due to maybe lack of funding of education and some things, which is even making most of our young Nigerians are moving out of the country. I heard the MD of Nestle that day saying that people working comfortable in his company are leaving. So what more can we do to bridge this human capital skills gap in our country?
Yeah, I think it's a long, one of the reasons why challenges seems to be so hard every time we talk about that is because we are neglecting the fact that it's a long-term plan. Anything you didn't plan for last year will haunt you this year. It doesn't matter the kind of information that you have now. It will haunt you. Our human capital development, we've left that space untouched for years. And so the returns is what we are seeing now. But I think we can still do a lot. We can do a lot with respect to education. We can do a lot in skill development. We can do a lot in health care, and so many other, buckets of reforms and policies that can ensure we have a better outlook when it comes to human capital development. If you look globally and you look at the rank of Nigeria, when you mention all these statistics, you'll be shocked. Really, you'll be shocked, and it won't be a new thing or something shocking for somebody to say he's leaving Nigeria, even though some of them also may get there and they see that it's not as easy as that. But again, we need to put something in places. We need to make sure that things are done properly so that we have a country that we all look forward to.
Security is also the big one. affecting agriculture, affecting investors, and all of that. And definitely, it would affect economic growth.
Yeah.
To make price of foodstuff stay on the higher side. What would you say, or let's start to set an agenda now for whoever becomes Nigeria's next CEO, because we know that that is the big one now, the elections, which is coming in a matter of, let's say, a month and few days. What do you think, or where do you think it should start from? We've identified the issues now. Let's try to profile solutions. We've done in some cases, I know, but let's try to highlight some of the basic solutions and key policy imperatives as we move on.
Where the experts will tell you a lot about what to be done. But one thing, every advice or policy that will be meted out will be centered on concentrating on national cohesion. We can't be divided and be united at the same time. A nation or a particular house that is divided against itself will not stand, right? So our problem for me is not just because we have suddenly people just wake up and we don't understand ourselves again and people are interested in killing, kidnapping here and there. I think something is fundamentally wrong. So for me, the new CEO will have a big challenge of uniting the country. In every sense of it, not just about you just come here and say you belong to everybody or something like that. We need to do a raw work of uniting the country, listening to people's agitation and making sure that everyone has the feel that I belong to this country. Everybody knows what is expecting as a Nigerian. Everyone understands what it means to be a Nigerian. Having a Nigerian dream. You see, when you don't have a purpose, when people don't have any purpose, then I wake up, I sleep, and there is nothing that connects me with this country, then they can do just anything they feel like doing. But we need to look at that part, first of all, before any other security advice here and there advice can really work. We need to make sure that we are one as a nation. And that is fundamental for business. It is fundamental for productive activities. That's the first thing everybody looks forward to. You have to be secured first before you then think of go about what you want to do with your life.
Let's talk about debt and our 2023 budget. It's a transition budget too, because it's half Buhari's administration, President Buhari's administration, and whoever wins the elections on February 25th. So what's your take? I know the NESG has been out to talk about this debt issue even before now. And I've spoken to a lot of representatives from your end, particularly Taiwo Oyedele, who is a PwC, who've spoken consecutively around debt. But what is your take? The minister will tell you that we're still not gotten to that threshold. Yes, we are bordered, but we can still manage. And some would also argue and tell you that America borrows a lot. China has also borrowed a lot. It depends on what you use the money borrowed for. Which of the sides do you belong?
Oh my God! Well, I belong to all sides.
All sides?
I have a third side.
Okay, great. Let's hear that.
The first side, we are still within the threshold. So the question is, which threshold? Threshold GDP, debt to GDP.
Yes, debt to GDP ratio.
So what does that mean? Whose debt? Whose GDP? The GDP is for private people, right? Government is not the owner of the GDP.
Yes.
So you can as well be saying you are doing below this percentage and the rest. Good for you. But when it comes to repaying your debt, nobody will ask you, okay, before you repay, whether you can repay or not, is your GDP this and that? No. When it comes to repaying, you need revenue, right? So if you go by the route of your revenue debt service, with your revenue, then you ask yourself that something is wrong. We pay almost everything that we borrow through all our revenue. In fact, we are even borrowing now to pay for our subsidy. I know that's a huge debate also, to pay for subsidy, right? So that makes government that makes government to be broke, really. So it's a challenge that we cannot continue like that. We should stop and focus on internally generating the revenue, or a little bit be transparent and being responsible with the process of repayment. America and other developed countries, yes, they can borrow hugely. But the question is, are they not paying back? Do they use all their revenue to pay back? Don't they have credibility? These are the questions. It's not a matter of everybody borrows. Yes, everybody borrows, but some people actually pay their debt conveniently without entering into core revenue that should be meant for developing the people, infrastructure, and so many other things.
Let's talk about tax reforms as we almost wrap up this segment of the interview, because I know, like we said, we can go on and on with Nigeria's economic issues, but tax reforms, we've talked about, there's the Finance Act, is that document that accompanies the budget. But this time around, I think a lot of holes were picked with regards to this very document. Analysts are saying, no, that's not the way to go. This will not allow investors come in, and I think they are trying to review that document. What's your take with regards to the move by government to generate money from the non-oil space? We are the same people saying we need to diversify. We need to look away from oil. So if government is shifting to the non-oil space, not too aggressively, do you think that can help bridge this revenue gap one way or the other? NEPC is recording so much money now. That's what we hear from them.
I think it's a wrong move. I think it's a wrong move for anyone to run away from the source of revenue that can help you survive, and then say, no, because I don't want to develop that sector, I'm running to another sector. Show me any developed country anywhere who is blessed with natural resources, who has never developed that sector in such a way that it helps other sectors. We are talking about petrochemicals there. We are zero. Industrialization, we are zero. So because we don't know how to, get out, how to understand this sector, we then run to non-oil sector. It's good. We have improved revenue from non-oil sectors. Yeah, that is good. But we cannot diversify away from oil. We cannot. We can build our industrial part through oil sector.
We need oil to diversify. That's what one analyst told me. Is that what it is?
Yes. So you can't run away from that. What happened when we started having problem with oil production? Were you hearing anything like, no, revenue is working? Everybody thought we are going down. So we need to develop that sector in such a way that it won't just be about extracting oil and pushing it out. It will also be about extracting the oil, refining the oil, employing more people, having sub-sectors, bigger sector on that oil. I've been looking at the integration between oil sector and some other primary sectors and building a strong sector for ourselves rather than running away from the problem and the challenge and then say, let's go and be getting our revenue from the non-oil, which would not always, the case would not always be like that. And eventually you see maybe government trying to force money out anyhow from the people or from businesses. And as a matter of time, people would then say you are crowding out that space. So I think we need to look more holistically at all those sectors and what government can do to improve the revenue base of the country.
Let's wrap up with your advice. You've seen these figures. You've seen all of these details. What is your advice to, again, whoever becomes the CEO in straight terms? I know it's a lot, but, what do you think? What do you think should just, infrastructure, should it be the monetary policy? Should it be lifting more people out of poverty? Which should be the first hit?
It's funny in that the way the economy works, you may see the problem, like different problem, 10 of them, but it may just take you to address one before you see the impact in others. So I think the new administration should be well informed enough to first of all understand what is going on. This is not a time to say, I will do this, I will do that. We've been hearing that before I was born. People are still saying, I will do this. No. Now you are there, so you are not campaigning now. Now you are there. What is the problem? Engage the private sectors, engage the stakeholders, not the campaign engagement now. You are there. Engage everybody. Understand the real problem and start with that. But that can only be done when we have whoever is going to be there. But whoever is going to be there must first of all look at the fact that Nigeria must be one. Security, national unity and cohesion, those are the most important parts before you talk about the economy. Number two, you need to bring in people who really want to serve the country, indeed, from their mind and not because of their pockets. Number 3, you need to be open-minded and listen to stakeholders, especially the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, when it comes to how the economy can be run, and and various reforms that can take place. So I think whoever is coming will have a lot of challenges, but it will still be the best for us if you get the right person.
Thank you so much, Dr. Olusegun Omishakin, Chief Economist and Director of Research and Development at the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
And you too.